That's twitchy. Hello, welcome to Furious Driving, and today you find me at the wheel of something which has taken the name from something else. Yes, I'm driving a Ford Puma, and this one's an ST, and wow, you can really feel the Ford performance at work under your wheels here. If you like reviews of different and interesting cars, then please do hit like and subscribe, and let's get on with the review now.
Proud to be sponsored by Diamond Bright, the car care products that have been keeping the Furious fleet looking their best for a long time already. To find all you need to keep your car clean and protected, follow the link below to diamondbright.co.uk.
Hello, welcome to Furious Driving, and this is a review I've been looking forward to and dreading in equal measure for some time, because I knew I needed to drive this car for a while actually, ever since it came out, to be honest. But it's one of those videos that's going to get equal measures of love and hate because of the content. Because if you're, well, let's be generous here, over 35 years old, the Ford Puma is a really cool, small, hot hatch thing advertised by Steve McQueen, and one of the ultimate cool, small, fast Fords. Well, and the fact that name has now been put onto a crossover of all things is going to get your blood boiling. If you're under 35, then it means nothing, and it's just a kind of a cool, modern, great handling performance crossover. So, well, let's take a look around and see what we think of it as objectively as we can. Now, before we get too far into this video, I will take a moment to thank my channel sponsor, Diamond Bright. This car actually belongs to them, so it made sourcing it rather easy. This is the stuff I use to keep all of my fleet of mini cars looking as sparkling and clean as possible. If you've seen any of them at shows or in photos, you'll know how well my cars do glow when you see them in person. That's because of the Diamond Bright products I use. If you want to use them as well, then hit the link in the description below and use code FD10 for some money off. Right, now, let's take a look around the car and see what we think. Now, as well as its name, the car does share a platform with the original car. Both are based on the current generation Fiesta, although this does look significantly bigger than the Fiesta it shares a platform with, interestingly. A lot of that is going to be to do with the height of the thing. You walk around the front, and typical of crossovers, they've gained their height in the lower portions, so the radiator and everything is stacked up quite tall. But height aside, it is quite an interesting shaped car. There's lots of sculpture, lots of interest going on in the flanks. Ford are good at this. They're good at putting tension and shape and interest along otherwise what could be boring parts of the vehicle. So we've got this tall Aston Martin front end, has got creases running up through the bonnet. These lights are absolutely fascinating with the intersecting L and C shapes and LED projector lamps as well, making it very cool indeed. This is the ST version, so we've got the deeper front dam with the Ford Performance splitter on the front of it as well. Coming around the side, we have got the choice of 17, 18 or 19-inch wheels depending on the model. This being the ST, has got these rather cool diamond cut two-tone 19 inches which look really rather cool. Around the back they've done a lot of interesting stuff as well. These big bulbous lights are really quite cool features in themselves. The way that the outer clear panel is totally separate to the red inner makes them rather an interesting little feature, with a clear section running through the centre as well. All very interesting indeed. Like the front, because the height is stretched for crossover-ness, it's a very tall car. It certainly feels taller than the Fiesta. But rather excitingly, down the back of this, because it's the ST, we've got this chunky twin exhaust at the back, which does sound absolutely fantastic with this delicious rasp and burble. Now, as well as the visual sculpture of the bodywork of the car, another thing to thank Ford for are the colour choices. This isn't part of the wrap. This is the factory metallic glowing green. This is the electric Kermit that came from the factory. If I was choosing one, then yes, this is what I would go for. Love it. Now, climbing in, before we take a look at the rather exciting Ford Performance kick plate, look at the shape of the door, like an old Saab. This wraps completely around the sill. Now, I don't know how this is going to work long term for rust prevention and things, but people buying new cars on 3-year PCPs probably aren't that concerned. But down the bottom we've got a large rubber seal which keeps dirt and debris and grit and water out when the door is shut. Nice slam to there. This does mean though we've got a very narrow sill to step over and climb in. Before we sit down, let's take a look at the ST specific Recaro bucket seats. Absolutely beautiful things. They are a mixture of leather and Alcantara. I'm rather taken with them. On these ones we've got manual rather than electric adjustments, but they are boldly figure hugging. Climb aboard, squeeze ourselves into those seats. First of all, let's look at what we've got in here. We have got the biggest T-shelf you have ever seen. Epic T-shelfery on a level only seen in old Hondas and Rovers. So if you've got your tea, your coffee, your biscuits, they can all live up here when you're having a picnic at the racetrack, because you're going to take this to somewhere fun and exciting and sporty. And because this is fun and exciting and sporty, we have got carbon fibre trim all around the front of the dashboard, all around this bezel here, carrying on into the passenger side. And on the doors, we've got hard plastic and I'm going to say pretend leather, Artico leather if this was a Mercedes. We've got a large solid metal handle, lock and unlock just there, shush car, thank you. 4 electric windows, folding and heated mirrors, and down the bottom we have got huge door bin with lots of room for gubbins and a great big loudspeaker. Speaking of loudspeakers, this car has got the Bang & Olufsen sound system, so we've got B&O speakers here, left and right, and we've got a centre speaker over there at the head of the dashboard. Now, this being the ST, it has got a 12.3 inch digital display. If this was the titanium and below, it would have had the mechanical analog dials, which are rather nice as well, to be perfectly honest. But of course you do get the bonus extra stuff because sporty. Moving back to the, well, sporty ST flat bottom steering wheel. It's got ST written on it just there. It is leather, it is firmly padded, and it is a really nice chunky thing, ideal for gripping. Many buttons for many things can be found on here. We do have a horn here. Medium parp, slightly parpy, not as parpy as I would hope. And behind that leather steering wheel we have got our 2 instrument stalks. We've got indicators, lights, and lane keeping assist, which you can turn off and on. I will be keeping that off because lane keeping assist is a pain. Wipers are on the right hand side, cruise control on the steering wheel. In the centre we've got this little pop-up screen, which so many cars seem to have these days, which is a little bit of like an afterthought thing, but everyone seems to want to do it, so there you go. This has got your sat nav, your phone integration, your radio, all the other gubbins is all in here. And because sporty, we have got, flicking just there, our start-stop button here in the carbon fibre. Moving down, got a couple of big air vents. Got our climate controls, not dual zone, not climate, just basic air conditioning. Again, if this is a titanium rather than the ST, we would have actual climate control, which some people prefer as an option, some people are not too fussed about. Personally, I'm not too fussed. Got a big cubby hole down here with inductive charging via phone, 12-volt outlet and a USB outlet. And we've got, best of all, manual gearbox with a lovely sort of satin metal top on leather sides and a leather gaiter. Looks good, feels good. Ford do a fantastic manual gearbox. There is a 7-speed auto option, which was initially only available on the small engine. Moving back from that, we've got cup holders, 2 large ones and an espresso. We've got a leather handbrake with a nice satin metal front and lots of nice contrast stitching like the seats. Looks amazing. And behind that, we've got a leather padded armrest, which opens up with a bit of storage in there. All useful stuff. On the left-hand side, on the passenger side, you get a nice big glove box. Now, climbing into the back, and because it is a crossover, access is pretty good, because that's why people like crossovers, because you can climb in and sit basically vertical immediately with no real effort. It is, I'll take my sunglasses off, still quite dark in here. Because sporty, we've got a black headlining, which looks a bit lighter on camera than it actually is. This is black. Black doors, black seats, black carpet, black everything really. And yeah, it's a little bit dark in here, so child sick kids might struggle a bit in here, and the waistline is surprisingly high. So yeah, be aware of that. Maybe take your kids on an extended test drive if you're thinking of this as a family car. But from back here in the middle, a nice view of what is a pretty cool dashboard. Now, being what is going to be probably a family car in most cases, the boot is relatively important. It's interesting how the parcel shelf isn't really a parcel shelf. It's just a fabric thing which is on strings and comes up with the tailgate. Now inside here, and before you comment, Diamond Bright don't make vacuum cleaners, only cleaning products. So yeah, we can't comment on the fact they've left the boot dirty for me. I think the car was at a show at the weekend. Now, it's got a 2-height hard floor, so you can have it set right down to the bottom, or if you want a flat loading space, you can have it stacked up here so you can load things in easily. It is a very high loading lip, it has to be said. So this is basically thigh height for me to get into this thing. Take this thing out, oh, and we have got more debris than I was anticipating. I thought the boot was empty, I'll be honest. Interestingly, when you lift out the floor, these pop out plastic bases appear from the side to give you more of a firm base so heavier loads can go into the boot. But beneath that floor again, so we've got top deck, middle deck, and then we've got lower deck basement floor, we have got this big plastic tub, which they are advertising as for your lifestyle accessories. It is all plastic, it's rubber floored, and there is even a removable drain in the bottom. So if you've got wet swimming gear or something, if you've been windsurfing, put that in there and the water and gunk will just drain out the bottom of the car. Maximum load 70 kilos if you're interested. But yeah, very practical, very useful. We've got a LED light on one side, we've got a 12-volt socket on the other, and as I say, massive hole just there. And we've got chrome and black metal lashdown hoops, so if you need to tie things down securely, whatever reason, you can do that as well. The seats will fold down 60, 40 if you need more space, and with the load space in the upper position, you've got a big flat loader area, although it is compromised in terms of height because that's where the floor normally lives. Now Ford have given us 7 different trim levels on this thing. This though is the top ST. Well, I say top, this is the sporty ST. There is also a top luxury version called the titanium, and there's several versions of that, and even a vignale version too. So however you want your cake, you can have it and eat it. The crossover market is very crowded and all cars are very different. This car, even in its regular titanium and lower spec levels, are sprung in well, fairly tighter way than a lot of the competitors. So the T-Roc, for example, that will give you a softer ride, but the Puma, especially as an ST, has the advantage that it won't be rocking and rolling and leaning through corners quite as much. And unlike the Duke, which is jittery as anything, this is actually well controlled. Now all the Pumas come with a 1 litre mild hybrid EcoBoost starting at 125 horsepower, which is not the briskest car in the world, but certainly quick enough at 9.6 seconds to 60. Then there's 155 horsepower, which is a little bit more rapid. And then you get to this one, the ST. Unlike the rest of the range, the ST gets a 1.5 litre 3-cylinder non-hybrid engine, producing 200 horsepower and 300 newton meters of torque. Its CO2 is 148 grams per kilometre, and that means the first year tax is £230. And it comes with a 3-year, 60,000 mile warranty. 197 horsepower squeezed out of this thing, and you can hear and feel the power. It does feel very, very willing and rapid. And it's not even something you're going to pay for at the pumps. The lower output ones get over 50 to the gallon. This one still gets high 40s, which is, I can say, respectable. It's actually brilliant. Typical of a Ford, it is incredibly easy to drive. Visibility is pretty good. These A-posts are quite chunky, but you can see with those raised up Dino style front wings where the corners of the car are, so you're not lost wondering where it ends. And typically Ford, all the controls are logically and sensibly laid out. Everything's where you expect to find it. The interior is really well laid out with some great touches like a physical volume control on the radio and the little lights in the bottom of the cup holders. There's only one ST trim level, but it does have a fair few options you can choose. On the steering wheel there's a mode button which goes from Eco to Sport, which does make a noticeable difference to the car. The gearbox is a delight. It's so light and snappy. It's something you want to use. There is, in this car, a reason not to choose the automatic. This is so much fun. The clutch is incredibly light. The brakes, let's go for an emergency stop. There's nothing behind us. Wow, okay. Brakes are good. Brakes are very good. Acceleration does feel and sound like you're in a rally car. And the 0 to 60 time on this car is 6.5 seconds, and as much as you might dislike this car over the previous one, you can't argue with the fact that that is a couple of seconds quicker than the old one. It's also a lot more economical and has a higher top speed. It's ULEZ compliant and only costs £10 a year to tax, so yeah, there's a lot in its favour, let's be honest. Price new is from around £28,500 up to about £31,500, which is less than an equivalent Kona N or T-Roc R. The person who drives this car daily previously had a Civic Type R, and he tells me that he actually prefers this to the Civic because it still has bags of performance, more than enough day-to-day, everyday usage performance, but just feels so much more usable and pliant on the road, just comfortable to be in, well, around town in a traffic jam or on a B road. It really is a great compromise between out and out performance, 60 and 6.5 is properly fast. Back in the 80s and 90s, that was supercar territory. But at the same time, it's economical and comfortable. These seats, although they are massively figure hugging, are incredibly comfy. So it is a brilliant all-rounder. And much as I am loath to give credit to anything SUV or crossover based, it actually handles quite well. It hurts me to say that. What's happening? Will I be praising an automatic next? No, that's not going to happen. Well, thank you for watching this review of the Puma ST. I was, as I say, dreading driving it because I didn't want it to be as good or better than the original. I wouldn't say it is better, certainly it is different. It has a whole different character from the original car. But what it is though is still very, very good. It clings on through corners, has sharp turning, great brakes. It is hard sprung, but I quite like that in a car, so if you're after a car that is softer sprung, then maybe you should be going to look at, say, the Volkswagen or the Skoda equivalent. However, if you want a car that's well controlled, incredibly practical, and a good price, then you really can't go wrong with this. As always, if you've enjoyed, like, subscribe, all the rest. And don't forget to head down to the link in the description below to grab yourself some Diamond Bright car shampoo, polish, or other accessories. And see me again next time driving something completely different.